Hi, welcome to another episode of Facebook. It's supposed to be live, but we're having an issue with our internet connection, so we're improvising. And we have two different screens, so I'm gonna look back and forth just to figure out which one actually goes online and looks the best. So today, what we're really gonna talk about is cravings. Before that, we're going to say kind of what's coming up in the future, and I believe it's next week. We have the thing at J. Lynn at the Bridal place downtown, and they're super amazing, and it's just to talk about your positive body imagery. We're super excited to pair with them and go there. This week it's been spring break week, so everyone I think has been gone doing a lot of fun things, so we're excited when everyone gets back to kind of have the sun and daylight savings time and enjoy having more energy, because the sun is energy. And if I was going to talk about the supplement of the week this week we're going to talk about bergamot. And so we're going to do berberine. They both start with B. So if we're going to start with berberine, the thing I was bringing about berberine is berberine does a lot of great things. It kicks out bad gut bacteria. It helps reduce insulin levels, and it also helps with cholesterol. So if we're talking about nice ways to help us feel more euglycemic, if you will, the berberine not only helps your gut flora feel great, but it also helps with insulin. So it's a way to kind of potentially reduce cravings. And it works really well. And so a therapeutic dose of it would be anywhere from 800 milligrams to about 1,000 milligrams. So just be aware of that in the tablets that you get. And we carry orthomolecular products, and we just think they're super wonderful. We do have some designs for health products as well, and think they're super wonderful as well. So if you came to get those from us, those are the vendors that you would be getting them from. So great. And the other thing too I like to pass on is things that I've heard from patients during the week that I thought, oh, people should know that these people brought that up. So still wanted to congratulate everyone on their fat loss, because what a great achievement. Again, this is 5 pounds of fat. And I find that when people look at the fat and they see it's 5 pounds, if they lose 5 pounds, they're like, it's only 5 pounds. But if you look at that, they're like, that's 5 pounds. So it's really exciting, and congratulations to everyone who continues on their journey to become a stronger, leaner version of themselves. And then I had also heard from some patients, although we've been talking about ways to enhance sexual function in your relationships, some people didn't want to text in their thoughts, so I thought, I would just say them out loud, is that things to spice up your life may include, again, Jolly Ranchers and Pop Rocks, but someone brought up Altoids. So add that to the candy list of fun things that you could try during your sexual adventures to spice it up a little bit. Okay. So the other thing I was going to talk about as well is, last night, where sometimes things just happen during the day and I feel like I should say something about that tomorrow. So I wrote it down. So last night I happened to be watching the end of This Is Us, and that is when she had her baby and she saw her baby for the first time, and it just kind of reminded me of a couple of things. So I just wanted to bring that up. So one of the things I wanted to bring up is birth plans. And the reason I'm bringing up birth plans is because so many times people have this super long birth plan when you go in to have a baby. And I started asking myself after listening to them talk about them on TV, like, why do we do that? And so, and the answers that came in my mind included, number one, we fear the system so much that maybe they won't hear my voice. And I thought that's super tragic, because our job is to help people have their best journey. And never forget that you do have a voice, and you saying how you feel is not bad. It's good. So remind yourself of that before you go in. And maybe that's like you wear a little necklace to remind you of your voice, because your voice is actually your throat, or something like that, because no one should take away the journey of what is yours. Now, the other thing that I was really thinking about too is that maybe in a birth plan, we are trying to control the process of what happens to ourselves. And on that note really was what I was going to try to touch upon, because you really can't control what happens to you with nature. Like, our body is awesome and our body is amazing, and you can only do what you can do. But if you end up with a C-section, you wanted a vaginal delivery, or you have a vaginal delivery and wanted a C-section for some reason, when you hold on to that, you literally carry that experience with you, and it can be so hard because you're taking away this loving time and you're mixing it with this really conflicting feeling. So just don't do that to yourselves. So I think a birth plan is a really great thing in that it can give you a little framework of what might happen, but be open to adjusting and rolling with your body, because at the end of the day, if you're okay and your baby's okay, that's all that matters. And whether it came out your stomach or whether it came out your vagina, you're both super great. So just embrace the journey, embrace yourself, and really the last thing you have to protect yourself from is your body. It is your best friend. And so that is on the same note of, we talk about everything else too, that your body is awesome and it just wants to keep you well. And it's actually built to have babies. It's intimidating to think that something like that's going to happen. We go to school, we read, we learn how to ride a bike, but actually you have to do nothing to have a baby but just roll with it because your body already knows what to do, which is actually super scary. But if you let it do its job, it usually does a really good job. So that's what I wanted to say from last night. Okay. Ooh, and the other thing that we talk to people all the time about is connection with the environment, connection with other people, connection with yourself. And so when I was watching that last night, I thought they did a really good job of that first connection. And if I just have to say the most contagious part of my job that I did before, it's the moment where the world stops and you look and you just see this beautiful moment that the mom loves their munchkin and the dad loves their munchkin, and you just see this connection happening, and it's just so beautiful. So I did think last night that they did a really great job of that, and I just want to remind everybody of that moment of connection and how amazing it is, because I think that's why, you know, as a mom, I can only speak as a mom because I'm a mom, but when your kids are away from you, that you feel like unbalanced because you connected to them and they give you balance. And then as they never leave your life, but as their life change, you have to figure out how to rebalance yourself when they're further away from you. So just another thought about connection and how that has to do with our children and ourselves in that first moment that we see them. So, okay, so the next thing we're really going to talk about is cravings. So cravings are something that I talk to folks very frequently about, and so many people will say, oh, I just don't have much willpower. Well, my rebuttal to that is I would actually say that your body is just trying to soothe itself or reach a balance through food. So you're never, if you're always trying to stand up to that, it's hard because you're giving energy and you're pushing against yourself. But why don't you just fix why your body is craving, and then the cravings go away? That's so cool, and that makes so much more sense to me. So number one, I think that the body tries to soothe itself by food sometimes, which leads to cravings. And then sometimes we actually build habits by eating, which also increase cravings because we're trying to soothe ourselves from a habit. So one is more trying to balance ourselves out by what we eat, and the other is trying to balance yourself out by habitual routine, if you will. And the other thing too to be mindful of is sometimes the longer you crave and the longer you're stressed out, you put different foods in your mouth. So if I'm stressed, I eat different than when I'm unstressed. Well, when I'm unstressed, my food choices are different, which is going to change my gut flora differently. So if you change the food you put in your mouth, you also change your gut flora. So does your gut rule your brain, or does your brain rule your gut? Heck if I know. But I just think if you break the feedback loop and start doing it differently, you will get not control, but you'll get better balance of the system, if you will. So when I think about cravings, what I try to do is, I know that's just one way that your body is trying to help itself because it feels off of balance. So I like to first ask the question, why do you have them? And then the second thing I like to see of is, are you stressed outside in, or does your body have a physiological change, such as have you gotten different gut flora that are making that gut flora is actually want you to eat more sugar, because over a long period of time, if you're eating a lot of sugary foods, you change your gut flora. Well, your gut flora loves the sugary foods, so it wants you to keep eating the sugary foods. So it starts telling your brain, eat sugary foods, keep me alive. And so literally, your little GI flora starts to give your brain messaging that makes you be like, okay, I will eat those bad foods. And so it starts this loop that feels hard to get a grip of, actually. And so when you think about like berberine, for example, as you start to change your gut flora, then the little gut bacteria those bad gut bacteria, if you will, kind of leave you and you get reestablished. But also by modulating your stress response, then you're going to put different food in your mouth. And over time, sometimes by putting different food in your mouth, you also change your gut flora. Because if you pick a person up that lives in the United States and move them to Europe, their gut flora changes. Why? I eat different in Europe. If you pick me up and you move me to Asia, my gut flora changes. Why? I eat different food in Asia. So if it's that easy to pick me up and move me and change my gut flora, then certainly if we change your stress level of your body, your gut flora also changes. And the other thing I can completely realize from doing what I do is that when a person feels balanced in themselves, their body wants health. It wants you to eat whole foods, and it wants you to move. Hands down, it happens all the time. And until someone comes in and says, Sam, I sleep and I wake up and feel rested, I have energy at the end of the day, and I don't crave bad foods, then I'm like, whoop, we're good, we're balanced. But when you feel out of balance, those things are going to totally return. So it's a metric that your body's talking to you. So if you hear what your body's saying and fix why your body's talking to you that way, then it literally goes away. So we can treat cravings with a myriad of different things, reducing your stress level, reducing insulin resistance. Also, a lot of times there's like Saxenda Victoza, which is another medicine that really helps with that too. Those are medicinal options, but you can really do it in other ways as well. You just have to break the cycle. So one of the other issues that we hear a lot from patients when they come in and they look at like food allergens or food sensitivities is they get intimidated because they feel like, I totally cannot do this and this is going to be horrible tasting. And so today, everyone has done such an amazing job at kind of bringing up that doesn't have to be the truth. And actually this can be quite easy. So I also wanted to mention that if your brain has cravings, and I look at that beautiful, wonderful person sitting in front of me and say, you know what I want to do? I'm going to take away everything that you're stress relieving yourself from, but I don't give them energy back into the system. It doesn't work because they literally will want to look at me and want to stab me. Maybe not, but that's what they feel like, right? Because their body is like, whoa, she's trying to take something away from us that we're soothing ourselves with without giving me something back, so I'm going to push away from this idea. Well, if I take that person, I take them to the grocery store with a plan, and their cravings go up and they're super exhausted, they might try for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then pretty soon they're like, I can't do this. I'm going to go back and eat this stuff. So if that is happening to you, we just have to find some energy to put into your body and help you learn the new way, build repetition and habit, and it gets so much better. It actually literally is that easy. So when you look at these foods, my husband's been doing an amazing job at trying to get our household be more paleo. And I have to say that he's been doing an amazing job, and the foods that he's been making are frankly delicious. So go back to how your body was designed. Our body, again, designed in a cave, no matter where you think we came from, how long we've been evolving, blah, blah, blah. We've been there for a lot longer than we've been in this world. So your body's like, I want you to eat whole foods, move, sweat, have a healthy gastrointestinal system, sleep, balance your energy, belong somewhere. That's all it wants. So in the eating part, if I was in a cave, I ate animals, vegetables, fruits when it was hot and I moved around outside, and I don't have a bakery. Okay, but your body's super forgiving. We've outlived the dinosaurs. I mean, your body is so cool. So of course it can handle a little bit of this, that, or the other. But it's not about being never doing anything. It's just about moderation. It's about a little here, but more of the good stuff. And if you give your body more of how it understands food, your body feels better. It feels unstressed because it's just like, oh, I remember this world. So the more I remember this world, the more energy you have, the better you sleep, because your body gives you back that energy that you always want. Okay? So I baked some cookies that had no flour, super great. We made muffins out of like cashew butter and almond butter, and so and there's a lot of like coconut oil we've been cooking with, and that was so fun because it actually baked up like cakes. And then there were chocolate chips in the muffins, and so when you eat a little bit more fattier foods, like especially in the morning, now it depends on which type of dietary plan that you're going on. I'm not talking about this is the higher protein, blah, blah, blah. I'm just talking about different ways of thinking about food, basically, okay? And this is just a discussion that, oh my gosh, I can do this and this isn't horrible. So when I start eating a little bit more fat and a little bit of protein and that stuff in the morning, I stay full for a lot longer, because if I eat a muffin in the morning, I'm hungry like 2 hours later. So that is a way to keep you not feeling like you have to eat all the time. So baking with other things is totally doable. So they've done a great, and when you cook with whole foods are not, that's what, like out of the ground, they're not all processed, so we haven't really messed with them. And so that your body likes that too. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, those are, that you're opening up right now.
Yes.
If your kids really like chewy bars or like granola bars, that is a healthy version of the chewy bar. So it uses ingredients such as puffed millet. You can use any kind of nut butter in there. I use some of the Enjoy Life chocolate chips to add a little bit of sweetness to it. There's oats, so it's definitely fiber packed, and with that nut butter, that combination of a little bit of protein, carbs, and fat, helps you feel a little satiated without totally spiking your blood sugar and feeling like in 2 hours you're getting really hungry.
And so the other really awesome thing about dietary fiber is you change your gut flora with dietary fiber as well. So it's another way to help kick out the bad guys, is to feed the good guys. And so then we look at other things. So my husband also made this rockin' awesome, amazing, it was this buffalo casserole, and he took the squash, and those were the noodles, and we cut it, we baked it, he shaved it, he put it in, it was delicious. It tasted like a hot wing, but it was all like natural stuff, and it was so yummy, and the kids eat it too. So then there's other things here like sweet potato rice that you can, it's a carbohydrate alternative. You can also use like cauliflower rice instead of normal rice. This is almond butter, and here is some cashew butter, because a lot of the nuts have their own butters, and you can actually use this as a base to bake things in. And we were making these little chocolate cake mug things, and a couple of the websites I was just going to mention is like Every Last Bite or What Great Grandma Ate, were a lot of the ones that we've looked off of. And then there was another one. What was the other one? It was
Chocolate Covered Katie.
Chocolate Covered Katie. That was it.
Ambitious Kitchen is the one who did the protein
bars. So Ambitious Kitchen. So just, you can Google a lot of paleo recipes and find out some really great things that you make with minimal ingredients. And once you find the minimal ingredients, like in our cupboard we have now this one little area that's like this big. And from that I can make like, there's cocoa powder, there's cashew butter and almond butter. So you can make all these really great things, but you're using the same ingredients and it doesn't take a lot of space up. It's actually really fun. So you're like, so yummy, yummy.
A little tip to save money is that we actually have tried making these things on our own. So if you have like a strong mixer, like a Ninja, or something like that, that you feel like it can handle really spinning or turning for a couple minutes at a time, cashew butter is really easy to make. You could just buy roasted almonds. We have added cinnamon, a little bit of oil, whatever that oil is of choice, and within 10 minutes you have a whole jar of almond butter, and you haven't spent $8 or $9.
And it's really yummy, by the way, like warm, like nuts when you melt them down. It's really good. So anyway, just to let, it's so doable actually to cook without flour. And you don't have to, and when I say flour, you can always use like almond flour. My husband's allergic to vanilla, so we use more almond extract instead of vanilla extract. And so there's a lot of other options of things that you can cook with. You just have to be kind of innovative. So just know, oh my gosh, if I can do it, I'm pretty sure you can do it too. And here's these little ball things. What did you put in these?
So these are from the recipe that the interns developed the other day.
Super
so
delicious.
On Facebook Live. That is made of dates, made of pumpkin seeds, raw cashews, and there's a little bit of pumpkin spice in there, as well as some dried apricots. I think that's all the ingredients in there. And those were just all in the food processor.
And then they've done such a great job too at writing down common questions that people were asking. So I'm going to read them and then give you some of the answers. So one of the things is, how can you incorporate more protein in your diet? Well, you just have to be innovative, right? Because again, think about how we evolved. Yeah, I ate a lot of protein. I eat more carbohydrates if I move around a lot, but if it's cold and I'm sitting inside, I don't need as many carbohydrates. Now there are some body types that use more carbohydrates, but when you if you teach your body to run off of carbohydrates all the time, then your storage, your like the amount of calories that you can store is less than when you teach your body to run off of proteins and fats. You can actually store more. So a lot of times you have more endurance over here than you do here, and that's fun to know because then you just have more power. Cool. But you have to transition yourself over to here, which takes a little while, and sometimes you feel tired before you feel energy. So proteins can be in a lot of different places, like spinach. Quinoa is a higher protein grain, but just be careful because sometimes you'll be like, quinoa is awesome, but there's like 45 grams of carbs to your 10 grams of protein. So just be careful with that and know that it's really common that a lot of things say high protein, but when you look at the carbohydrate content, it's super, super high. So you can't think that you can't do 10 grams of protein and 50 grams of carbs. That's not too balanced. So you have to lower that carbohydrate intake a little bit, especially as we age. I think it's much more important that we do more protein, because when I was 20, I could get by with a lot more carbs than I can now, and it just happens. But I think that's because my body feels more stressed with aging, and I have to work harder at eating very paleo-like from where I originated from. So chickpeas are really high in protein. Black beans are really high in protein, and they don't have near as many carbohydrates as like quinoa does. And then when you put pasteurized eggs in your like smoothies, it's really good. And people will fear they're going to get salmonella or shigella or some sort of GI issue from eating unpasteurized stuff, but they are in the carton and they're pasteurized. And protein pancakes are super fun, and they look just like pancakes. And so you can put like peanut butter on top of them, or you can even put protein powder infused peanut butter on top of them, and they store in a bag, and you can eat those throughout the day. So I'll make mine with like pumpkin or banana, or you can make them vanilla. You can choose whatever flavor that you want. And so the other thing people will have is, I can't have dairy. What can I use as a substitute? Well, you can use different things like almond milk, cashew milk, and soy milk. But again, be mindful, soy can be a little more highly allergic. So, and the other thing that's really interesting to know about almond milk is, don't make pudding out of almond milk. I tried that. It won't set up. So it really literally needs milk. So if you wonder why you made pudding and it didn't work, I've done that before. Don't follow my same example and just don't try it, because it doesn't work. And there's another thing called Daiwa, I think it's Daiwa, D-A-I-Y-A. If I didn't pronounce that right, I'm super sorry. But cheese substitute, and they have some really great coupons that you can kind of look for too, which is helpful. And then how do you incorporate more vegetables in your meals? You know, you can make, like, there are like sweet potato toast, because then you're putting a sweet potato in your toast. You can also put spinach or kale or avocado in your protein shakes. So you can be super innovative about your protein shakes. The other thing I want people to be mindful about too is it's so fun that we're like, ooh, I had a shake for breakfast. Well, what do you put in that shake? And they'll be like, I put kale and bananas and apples and grapes and this and that. And I'm like, ooh, that's yummy, but that's all sugar. So even if you put all fruit in a shaker and shake it up, you can put more sugar in the container than in a glass of Coke. So that being said, be mindful of that. Use your healthy, you know, fruits like your blueberries and your raspberries for flavoring, but it's not just about the fruit. It's more about the substance that it's in. So be sure that you're hopefully putting some egg whites or some protein powder or other things in there too, because when I talk to people, most people are really deficient in protein, and when I talk to them about what our goals actually are, they have to eat all the time, and they feel like that's a lot of food. I know, but from personal experience too, I know the more protein I eat, even though my body type may be a little bit different than other people's, the leaner that you get, because your body will give you leaner, stronger version of yourself as you de-stress it. So some other, nutrient-dense foods, like what you can substitute some noodles for. Zucchini is like so awesome. Spaghetti squash, chickpea noodles, and then don't forget those sheet recipe ones where you put you cut up like some peppers and some onions with a chicken, and then you bake it. It comes out and it's really good. So then we get everything in one, and we just put it in a little bowl and eat it, and it's super yummy. And my kids have really liked that too.
There's a veggie spiralizer right in front of you too.
Oh yes, look at this is advanced, a veggie spiralizer. So you put it in and you go and it makes the noodles, right?
Yeah, it's basically like a vegetable pencil sharpener. So you just stick the cucumber or the zucchini in there, or carrot, and it's under $10 and you can get it at Walmart.
Cool.
That's where we got it, yeah.
Super easy. So then the other thing too, let's see here about flour substitutes. We briefly touched upon that before. We talked about almond flour, oat flour, tapioca flour, and coconut flour. The only problem with those is if people have like this really big nut allergy, we'd have to be a little innovative with other things. And some of these things cook a little different, where you have to substitute amounts that are different than normal flour, but that's really readily available. Like I'll pick up my phone and be like, I want to substitute this, what can I do? And then I get a list, I'm like, okay. So it's super easy actually. And then sugar substitutes, this was really fun. Like you can use bananas, you could use maple syrup is another one, and applesauce is another one too that gives a lot of moisture. So those are things that you can add to kind of sweeten things up and give like kind of more of a fluffy consistency to things. And then butter substitutes include, you can use avocado, coconut cream, and ghee. Hopefully I said that right, but we've been using a lot more ghee, and it's amazing that once I started eating this way, because I've always, there's journeys of life, and we eat all different types of manners throughout our life, but definitely the more whole foods I eat and the more paleo I eat, my body feels better. So another thing too that we got another question is, I just found out I'm sensitive to peanut butter, what can I do? Well, peanuts are really a legume. So being allergic to a peanut doesn't mean you're allergic to cashews, which doesn't mean that you're allergic to almonds. And so if you have only done the 20 most common food allergens like what Quest does, everyone did such an amazing job to figure out, I think that would miss, of like the samples that we did, I think there were 40 people we looked at, like 123 different food allergens. So we miss a lot. And if you don't think that because you're allergic to peanuts, you're allergic to everything else, because it's just not true. So it doesn't mean that you can't have the other nuts. So look to the other things like almond butter, cashew butter, because they're good too. So I think those are innovative ways to find protein and cook without like wheat flour, and it still tastes good, and you can find more protein in your diet. But what other questions do we have?
Oh, just that. So I think a big barrier that folks have asked us about is time.
Oh yeah.
And so, the riced cauliflower sounds great, or the spiralized noodle sounds great, but I have kids and I gotta be on the go, and we need things, and we need them fast because we've got practice and stuff like that. So in talking to Avery about some of these, we found that if you want to do them yourselves, like spiralize your own noodles, or be able to dice up some vegetables to kind of make your rice, that's great. But there are also alternatives at the store that are a little bit more expensive than just say buying like a head of broccoli, but it's kind of already done for you. So because this is so popular right now, and this movement of health and being more conscious about the foods that you're eating is kind of very trendy, these are pretty accessible in your grocery store. So any really grocery store kind of is starting to carry the vegetable rice, starting to carry all different types of dairy alternatives and things like that. Spiralized noodles, they even have them now totally
They're just
spiralized.
out there on the cabinet.
They're out there.
Not the cabinet. And then the broccoli you can fork in the bag now. Jolly Green Giant has the frozen cauliflower rice, and then I even find cauliflower rice just in the veggie aisle. Oh, it's so fresh.
And we had some information about this with the blog post that's up, but talking about frozen vegetables, they are actually frozen at the time that they are most ripe. So it means that their nutrients are very high, freshness is very high at that time. So if you don't have to feel bad about buying frozen vegetables, because if you think about maybe how long it took your broccoli to get to you, it might not, the nutritional value could actually be higher in a frozen food than it could be compared to buying it at the store and it's sitting in your shelf for 5 days before you eat it.
So just don't feel bad about it, man. Just do something and make it easy and make it simple.
In nut pods, we have those as well.
Ooh.
So those are replacements for dairy creamers.
Ooh.
So it could be an almond milk creamer, a coconut milk creamer. For a lot of folks who come in and talk to you about their food allergies, food sensitivities, the biggest thing when it comes to dairy thing is, I have coffee every morning, what am I going to do?
Yeah. And over time, I mean, there's always a substitute that you can put in that coffee because coffee's yummy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think, and then we have plenty of samples and coupons of all sorts of products. So the Enjoy Life, for example, so I just found out that I can't have corn, right? Or that I have it, that's the Enjoy Life. That I have a corn allergy. So you're thinking, so I think, okay, not just corn on the cob, but any derivative of corn.
Like high fructose corn syrup or any corn syrup that's in so many of everything.
So if I'm trying to make healthy protein bars and I have some chocolate chips, if I use, and maybe a particular brand, it probably has high fructose corn syrup in it. So Enjoy Life has been a great opportunity for me to use a great brand because their products are free of common allergens, as well as their little protein bars that they've got, their little snack bars, but their chocolate that they have is free of high fructose corn syrup and any artificial colors or flavorings.
Awesome. So it's totally doable. And I always tell folks, if we can do it, so can you. So don't forget to reach out or ask us any questions that you have, but these are just some ideas. And the other thing too is all the little recipes that we've been making is just made from whole foods, and you just throw them together and bake them, and they're like so yummy. So you can jazz them up with some spices, you can jazz them up with some sauces, but be careful with sauces, because if you buy the sauce like pre-made, just there's a lot of soy and things if you're allergic to soy or high fructose corn syrup. So sometimes making it yourself, you just know exactly what you're ingesting, but just be mindful.
And if folks have any questions or feel as if this was overwhelming and they go to the grocery store and don't know where to look, they can email us, especially with the Simple Eats program. And we can help really take a lot of that stress away by helping them do their grocery shopping so they can just go in and pick it up.
Yep, there you go. So hopefully you guys found this super beneficial. Don't forget about the candy. Don't forget about super congratulations. And don't forget that eating is simple. So we will see you next week, and I'm not sorry that it's tape, but yay that it's tape, that we're just becoming innovative and adjusting to our technology advances. So we'll see you next week about the same time.